The world might feel a bit more chaotic and a bit more divided. It's easy to forget sometimes that there are constants. Your home's still your home, your family's still your family, and all the structures of our society are still there to look after you if you need it.
Here we go. George's resus.
Adult male, code red trauma, 10 minutes.
Activate the helipad.
There's been an explosion on a building site.
Heart rate 200.
Open your eyes, open your eyes.
Imagine having to work here.
Hello, Annie, can I help?
St George's, London.
It's all gonna kick off now.
One of Britain's busiest A&E departments.
Are we ready to roll?
Carry on CPR.
Oh, goodness me, it's all happening, isn't it?
We need to fix that, or you won't survive.
Is it?
A place where life,
Would you say I was fit, Doctor? Honestly, I think I'm quite fit.
love,
You are my everything. I love you, and it's okay.
and loss
Oh, Mum. I'm so sorry.
unfold every single day.
For every bad thing that you see, there is something equally wonderful out there.
Filmed during the summer of 2019, these are the stories of a nation and its health service.
I thought I was going to die.
You're definitely not going to die. You've got too many good doctors and nurses here.
When people experience really significant illness or injuries, we see people pull together, we see relationships get stronger, and we see people reflect on what really is the most important things in their life.
Whatever happens, it's going to be okay.
I love you.
Love you too.
But then, of course, typical sodding bloody Ned. He is a numpty. He's had a really bad week, poor boy. He had a disastrous exam this morning, economics. Came home and broke the cafetiere. I don't know why he was pushing, but he was pushing, and of course the glass broke. And now he's lost a bit of his thumb. He's cut it in 2 places. I reckon this is the 11th time I've been here since Easter. I know, it's so Ned. You know what he's like when he gets stressed. He gets dizzy. Anyway, there we go. How's Ivan's gone?
It's radiology. They want to speak to someone, but I think it's the 19%.
Yeah, injury. Radiology about number 8. Hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
In about how's life?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Consultant Phil is leading the trauma team in resus today.
I was born and raised in Yorkshire. I had a very supportive family. My parents are amazing. We would always eat together, roast dinner on a weekend with Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah, my name's Phil. I'm the ED consultant down in resus. I'm ringing up about a trauma patient.
In the emergency department, we're faced with death and injury on a daily basis, and we often see family members looking out for each other. I think it's a very British thing to put on a brave face and hope for the best.
Good afternoon, A&E St George's resus. Yeah. And is he a trauma? Okay, thank you. Bye. Adult male trauma, ETA 5 minutes.
A 57-year-old man is being rushed to St George's after falling 8 feet from a ladder.
So he's fallen 8 feet off the ladder. He's in a lot of pain. He's hurt his back.
8 foot is significant.
Fall?
Yeah.
And the TXA infusion.
If you fall onto a sharp edge, more force is transmitted through that point and can lead to a very significant injury at that point of impact.
Has the trauma call gone out?
Yeah.
Fine, OK.
So if somebody falls onto their spinal column, they can damage their spinal cord, which could lead to paralysis.
The patient's wife is travelling with him in the ambulance.
He was up the ladder in the garden, cutting the roses on top of the pergola. The first thing I knew was when the neighbours arrived and said, "We can hear Chris shouting in the garden. We think he's had an accident." You just need a moment to kind of take in, and there's that sense of the world turns upside down. Then it's a question of how serious. Life could be going to be very, very different.
OK, this is Christopher. He was up a ladder, about 8 foot. The ladder went one way, he went the other, landed on his back, on his coccyx, on the corner of a railway sleeper. Excruciating pain. He's also complaining of numbness in his genitalia area, pain going down his right leg. We have given him 10 milligrams of morphine and 1 paracetamol IV.
Sure. Cool, thank you very much. Yeah.
We're going to look at it from top to tail, make sure we can't see anything obvious to start with. And it's about how we investigate you and what kind of imaging we need to do.
Yeah. Ow! That hurts. That hurts a lot.
That hurts a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Whenever you touch that area, that hurts.
And are you just brushing it, Alia? Yeah. So he's got hyperesthesia of the leg. Yeah. I think what's happening is the nerves off there are firing off, even with a little minimal touch. I think probably we've just got to see whether or not you injured your back, your spine, and that's probably the main thing. Scan everything. I think if he's landed like down that and he can't really tell us clearly whether he's got any abdominal pain or chest pain when he's breathing.
We're going to scan him anyway, but yeah, it's interesting that he is very tender, isn't he? With minimal touch.
People after spinal injuries can become sensitive with minimal touch to skin, and it's called hyperesthesia, and it's a rare symptom associated with spinal cord injury.
He basically needs a CT of his whole spine.
We want to get them to CT as soon as possible. That way we can identify the problem and get them to theatre as quickly as we can.
Where's the pain at the moment?
Well, I've got pain around the back of the back, and I've got this thing with my right leg, which is really painful for some reason I don't understand.
It was scary. It was scary. And just very conscious that there was a long road ahead. And how do you deal with the rest of your life?
You don't have to do anything. You just lie there, all right?
Ow. It's all right. Ow, ow, ow.
57-year-old Chris is having urgent CT scans after falling off a ladder whilst pruning his roses and landing on a railway sleeper.
Slide on 3. Slide. On his legs.
Doctors are concerned that he might have suffered a serious spinal injury.
Breathe in and hold your breath. Breathe normally.
Chris's wife, Chloe, arrived with him in the ambulance.
Chris grew up with his mum and dad and his twin sisters. I don't think he was particularly boisterous. I think his sisters would probably say he was a bit of a wuss.
His mum was very ill after he was born. She had very severe postnatal depression, and he was fostered when he was a baby for about 6 months. So after he and his mother were reunited, their family were monitored by a psychologist to see whether they had any ongoing problems and needed support. Then the psychologist, did tests on him and tested his IQ, and it became apparent that he was fairly bright and would benefit from going to a school that would challenge him.
All right, Chris, well done. You're right, you feel a bit funny.
Yeah.
He went to boarding school when he was 9. I think he would tell you himself he was quite homesick for the first couple of years. I think that's quite hard to be separated from your parents and your siblings at that age.
Hello, love.
Hello.
Sorry. Don't worry about anything. All you've got to do now is just get better.
I think he felt quite sad at times, but I think he also wanted to do well and to please his parents, so he was kind of learning to cope with his own feelings, but Also trying to work hard.
Everything else can wait until you're feeling up to it again. Chris went to Oxford to study experimental psychology. When we met, I was, 21, and he was 19.
Could just have easily been me pruning the wisteria.
No going up ladders.
No.
A mutual friend introduced us. I mean, he looked very young because he was very young. He was 19, so he was the classic tall, dark, handsome man, but kind of in the making at that point. I wasn't swept away the moment I met him, like swept off my feet.
They have cut my shorts.
It's OK, we can get you another pair of shorts.
But I thought he was very nice and kind and interesting.
Yeah, look, see this one here? See this one here? She wants to take over her job, and that was her mate. That was her mate, and now she wants to do what she's doing, and she's got the hump with her. This one.
When are you into politics?
A little bit like you when you go, like, don't you ever the news and things like that?
You're a doctor now, you're like an MP.
Ex-doctor. I have in mind.
Give over.
A 30-year-old cyclist has walked by himself to St George's after a collision with a car. Doctors have sent him for an urgent CT scan.
Have you never had a CT scan before?
No.
Most likely they are going to inject you a contrast agent to see if there is any inner bleeding.
It's definitely more dangerous walking in after an accident. A lot of patients, especially when the adrenaline kicks in, you don't feel pain, you think, oh, actually I'm fine, especially when you don't see anything from outside.
You don't need to do anything for the scan, it'll just move up and down.
The patient's sister is waiting for him in resus.
I was at home with my mum and dad, and Liam sent us a picture in the group chat just of his bloody face. I rang him. What's going on? What happened? He said he was on his way to St George's. He was admitting himself, crazy. Just picked up his bike and walked to the hospital with blood on his face, like, sure, that's a normal thing to do. My first instinct was, without a doubt, to go and see him at the hospital. We didn't know how bad it was or how serious it was.
I got a customer in CT. He's a major trauma.
He's always in some predicament where he gets hurt or something happens. One time he went on holiday and he got mugged. There was another time when he won money in a cash machine in a pub and someone jumped him. He's got his drink spiked. One time he was out. He is always something.
He was on the back of a bike and he had an incident with a car.
Fractures, if not promptly immobilized, might damage the structures around them, and bones are surrounded by vital structures like arteries, veins, and muscles. You don't know what they're gonna find, and you don't know if patients' movements actually made the situation much worse.
Oh, hello.
Emma, hey, Dick. The car cut me up. I hit his backside, hit the brakes, so obviously I went straight over the car.
We're doing a CT head and CT chest, and shortly he's gonna have some x-rays as well about his ribs and his arms and his shoulder.
So there's about 8 years between us. We have the same mum, different dads. He's my half-brother, I'm his half-sister. Like, we've always been close. Closer to each other than we have, say, like our parents.
Does your head hurt?
No.
There's a cut, is it?
It's weeping. I can feel it weeping.
Yeah.
Eyes
It's going into your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I'm blurring.
Once a week, we literally stay up late, like in the living room, just talking about everything and anything.
I think I've broken something in my right hand.
Where it hurts?
My whole hand. Look at that finger.
We like to banter with each other. We've always got jokes, like one of us is always making the other laugh.
Oh, your nail didn't break.
Oh, that's nice. I'll paint them later.
But I do think I probably tease him more. There's a lot to tease about him.
Okay, your right hand hurts right there.
Okay, it's hurting here.
Yeah.
Wrist? How does it
Wrist, I don't think I can move that. That hurts.
How about if I were to press?
Hi, ouch.
Okay, so you certainly need an X-ray here. Sorry about that.
It's okay, it's okay. You're doing your job.
He doesn't care about himself as much as he cares about other people. If we talk like mental health, he goes through it, but he will know, like he won't tell anyone. I think he struggled growing up. I feel like there's a lot that he probably carries with him.
Morning. Sugar is a terrible thing. You don't realise how bad
Biggest
it
killer.
is for you, eh?
Biggest killer.
Yeah.
Everyone should cut their sugar out.
And salt.
And salt.
I mean, I put a little bit in when I'm cooking, but that's it. I never add salt to
I like
anything.
salt on chips, but I don't have salt on anything else.
But I don't. I change it to pepper. I do like salt on chips. That's the only time, but I don't. I have pepper on them now.
Yeah.
A 24-year-old woman is being rushed to St George's after she started to bleed from her throat.
She'd had tonsillitis between 6 and 8 times in the space of a year, and she had a tonsillectomy at Kingston. We thought she was getting better, and it was going to be a game changer for her to give her quality of life back. I'm out for dinner, and I get a phone call from Mum. I answer the phone, and Mum was like, Kushbu's bleeding from her throat. I said to Mum, FaceTime me. And all I could see was my sister over the sink with a pool of blood going all over the sink.
My patient from 5 is going to go to Richmond. You bring that one into 1.
Into 1.
At that point, I'm thinking, are they going to be able to stop this bleed? And is she going to stop breathing because she's going to have this massive clot that's going to go fall backwards and get stuck in her lungs?
Have a seat. ENT?
Her older sister and mum have come with her to the hospital.
Hello, love. What's your name? Kush. Oh, lovely. My name's Rose.
Kush is probably easy.
Kush, yeah, no worries. That's it, perfect. Hello. Post-tonsillectomy bleeding. Tonsils out. And they are having some post-op bleeding, essentially.
The bleeding in Kushbu's throat could compromise her airway.
I'm just going to spray some anesthetic in your mouth, and I want it to hold it as much as you can. I'm just going to...
Doctors must find the source of the bleeding and clear any blockages from her throat.
Look again. Suction now. Give you a bit of a break, yeah? Goggle.
Goggle and spit out.
Yeah.
And up. That's it. Good girl.
There's 7 years between me and Cushy. She was my baby sister, and I wanted her more than I wanted anything else. She was better than any toy anything that could have come on the market for me. I was a really girly girl. I wanted someone that I could dress up and have like tea parties. I was always told to go and study. I was the responsible one, and she was a free spirit. Just relax. No pressure, just relax.
Oh, child.
You are.
Sisters are mean, aren't they?
Yeah. What are you doing now, then?
Giving an antibiotic.
Oh, okay, good.
What are they giving her? Comoxiclav. Yeah.
So you're on the same one?
You've been taking it at home, have you? Yeah.
Started it yesterday.
Grotty tonsils.
There were 6 of us all under one roof, so the whole family and the whole very close-knit family of my grandma, my dad, my mum, me and my 2 sisters.
I'm just going to give your tranexamic acid in a minute.
Thank you, Mother.
This is the anti-bleedy one.
Rose is lovely. We like Rose. We're Hindu Punjabi. We're raised that we look after our elders. It's definitely a cultural thing. They bestow a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of energy in you when you're little. So that if, God forbid, that something happened one day where one of our parents was ill, we rallied together as one unit rather than dividing the family.
There we go. Ooh.
We always saw Dad as the pillar. He was always the strong one out of everyone. He always kept us all going. We were like, oh, nothing's gonna happen to us. He's here. He'll take care of it, he'll sort it.
Right, it's okay, that's okay.
You never think for a second that one of your parents is gonna be taken like that.
So you've had a bit of morphine paracetamol with the ambulance. How did that help?
It was good.
It was good.
Earlier, Chris fell off a ladder and hit his back on a railway sleeper.
What were you doing up a ladder?
Pruning roses.
Ladders are dangerous things.
I know perfectly well, as I tell people at work, that...
What do you do?
Facilities management.
Okay.
You do not go up ladders above the height of your own head on your own. So, of course, I was on my own.
He's hyperesthetic around L1, but normal sensation, his power is about 3 out of 5. He's got some proximal weakness of the right leg at the minute.
Doctors are analysing CT scans to find out if there's any serious damage to his spinal column.
So if someone's sustained an injury to their spinal column, you could become dependent for your care upon others. It can have big effects upon your work life. You may not be able to carry on the job that you were previously doing. It will have a long-lasting effect for the rest of your life.
This right leg thing's a bit of a concern.
How does it actually feel now? You just got sort of pain, sharp pain down.
Yeah, I haven't lost the use of my legs, which is...
No. At university, we were in a common social group of people who did the Conservative Association and went to the union for debates and had a lot of friends in common. He definitely seemed very keen to get to know me. He kept trying to put his arms around me and kiss me and things like that. At least you're not lying on gravel anymore.
That was pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah, I know. But I had a couple of other people that I was interested in at the time, so I wasn't quite sure which way I was going to go. But they were both leaving Oxford that summer, so...
So he was what was left?
That sounds terrible.
Ow. My bit's starting to not feel numb anymore as well.
Well, that's good, isn't it?
I think so.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was quite keen to have a boyfriend. I don't think my love life at Oxford had been a great success up to that point, so yeah, that was part of the appeal. I'm not very romantic, and I would say that perhaps he's much more of a romantic than I am.
Ow, I am so sore.
He talked to me about his early family life and the lady who was his foster mother. I said, oh, well, that's strange because something very similar happened in my family as well. My mother actually had something called a puerperal psychosis. You know, you have a massive hormonal change when you give birth, and if you are vulnerable to that sort of thing, it can kind of tip you over the edge. So she was extremely poorly. She was in hospital for quite a long time. We were separated when I was about 10 days old, so, and I was fostered for about 6 months, and it was quite a long recovery. Oh, I'm just going to walk about a bit. I thought it was quite strange, and maybe it made us feel quite connected at, you know, quite a deep level. Maybe that we both had a bit of sense of the vulnerability in life.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, that's really started to hurt a lot.
Where's it hurting? In your leg or in your back?
Balls.
Do you think you squashed them as you fell?
Probably.
A friend once said to me, it's the difference between what you want and what you need. And with Chris, I thought, yeah, you are what I need. You will be an anchor and we will be solid, which was really important to both of us.
This will make you laugh. Your cousin
I WhatsApped. Not a good week for Ned's first week of A-levels so far, and I'm now sitting in A&E with him as he sliced his right thumb open in 2 places and bloody well broken my cafetiere in the process. Robert's written, "Really sorry to hear about your cafetiere, Al. Sure I speak for us all when I say we're with you at this difficult time."
So would you have a CT scan?
Yeah.
Is that where you go in head first? With loud noise?
It's not actually that loud.
I've never been in resus before.
Have you not?
30-year-old Liam is awaiting the results of his CT scan after he collided with a car while cycling.
Liam?
Yo.
Are you all right for me to come in?
Yep.
Who's here with you?
That's my sister, Emma.
Nice to meet you. So, we're just waiting for the full report of your scan.
They said we were going for x-rays, so I don't know when that's happening.
Yeah, so the person who does the x-rays gets you in certain positions, they get the best picture. It's quite difficult to do that while you're strapped down. So any break, what we're worried about is if they're significantly moved or they're twisted.
Oh, okay, so you need to operate, so to speak.
Decide whether we need to operate on it, because it will cause long-term problems if you don't sort it out quickly.
We didn't have the same dad. Our mum was with Liam's dad before she met my dad.
So as soon as the report is back for your CT scan, we'll sort your wounds out. Okay?
Thank you.
He had a good relationship with his dad. They used to go fishing. Yeah, it was cut away quite soon.
Yeah, I'll get you some more painkillers, okay?
Cheers, mate.
Very well spoken, wasn't he?
Yeah, like I said, there's like 3 attractive guys around me.
Yeah, that guy in white is very attractive.
My mum and Liam's dad separated and they got divorced.
Please be okay. Please.
Liam's dad, I don't think was dealing with it well, sort of drunk a lot. And then the accident happened.
Right, boss, good news.
Hey.
Right, now I've got to go.
Scan of your head,
yeah,
facial bones, neck, chest, all fine.
Fantastic.
No worrying injuries.
Tell her everything's fine.
CT scans come back.
So the main worrying things, the kind of life-threatening things are ruled out, which is really reassuring. I'm going to get somebody to whiz you around for your x-rays.
That'd be great.
Don't sit up too much.
Oh, that's fine, that's fine.
So the accident with Liam's dad, he fell down some stairs and hit his head, and he got a blood clot on his brain, and he passed away. Liam was about 12, but for Liam to be so young in his life and to lose such an important role in his life, I think that has had such a toll on him.
Claret everywhere, eh?
It's just oozing.
There's so many emotions, and to not understand, like, for your dad to be there and then not be there the next. You can imagine there's confusion as well as anger.
I'm hungry.
I'll bring you some food shortly after this, yeah?
What's on the menu?
I don't know what the chef is cooking right now, sir, but we got some creme brulee.
Good bit of sugar.
Sunday roast.
Sunday roast?
Not, yeah,
Sunday roast?
We like to surprise our patients.
Fantastic.
Anyway.
Thank you, mate.
I've been sweating.
Him losing his dad just before he enters his teenage years, that changed him in ways that no one really noticed, or he probably didn't, maybe he didn't know himself.
Just thought it'd be easier on
See you in
this.
a minute.
Let's just eat up for me, mate.
Knock, knock.
Little maze, isn't it? Come in, come in.
Oh, look, your foot. No, that looks bent.
No, it's just the angle that they've done it, that's all.
Look at your big toe. Is that meant to look like that?
Yeah, that's
No.
all okay.
Is that normal?
Yeah.
What a weird toe you got.
Everyone's got.
I've had my foot done before. That ain't normal.
What do you mean it's not
It
normal?
needs to get clicked back.
What do you mean that's not normal?
It's like that.
You know something? I really wish I should have come.
That's not normal, Uncle G.
Why don't you just be quiet, yeah?
I've been worried because I saw your throat and I could see it was infected, and you were in denial that it was not infected.
24-year-old Cushbo is being monitored after a blood clot formed in her throat following a tonsillectomy.
Rose? We've gone back to bleeding.
Yeah, that's fine, don't worry. It will probably keep happening. All right, it's not going to immediately stop.
Medical staff are waiting to see if the clot in her airway has dislodged.
You've probably got a big clot at the back there, potentially, which is going to sit there and it's going to irritate the back of your throat until it comes out, most likely. The TXA will hopefully reduce the amount of bleeding you have.
My grandmother passed away in January. 3 months after grandmother passed away, Dad had a stroke. I was 22 and Khushbu was 15, 16. I was training to be a pharmacist and Khushbu was studying. She was doing her GCSEs at the time.
Do you want socks? You want mine?
Yeah, that's good.
They're brand new. I offered you to have my socks.
Seeing that same person not being able to move and being bedbound, it scares the life out of you, that you feel like all your security and all that safety is just taken away. So Mum invested a lot of time, a lot of love, a lot of patience with Dad. And she would do whatever she needed to do to make sure he was okay. And I was focused on the 2 younger siblings.
And what's going on?
What would you like to do? Would you like me to go and wiggle it?
So whether it meant getting the food sorted, helping with homework, collecting from school, whatever was needed doing, I just did.
Is that me trying to be sick or is that you hiccuping? Do you want water?
I hate hiccups.
It's okay.
We used to have a trampoline at the bottom of the garden, so when Dad had his stroke, it just so happened that his rehabilitation happened in a hospital right behind our house. Because the girls couldn't actually go to the hospital to see him, they used to use the trampoline and jump on the trampoline and wave to Dad.
Excuse me, do you have the bowls? My sister's about to throw up.
Because she changed in that time.
So I've got you some more.
She had issues with her mental health. Depression, anxiety, stress, being very emotional.
Don't touch me, please.
And it was a hard thing. You can't just switch it off with what's going on at home with Dad.
And she's feeling worse, she said.
I took, I think it was 6 to 8 weeks off of unpaid leave, just so I could get Dad walking. Maybe when you're younger, you want to go clubbing or you want to go and see your friends and you want to go for dinners and that kind of thing, and that wasn't written for me.
And I've spoken to the...
I think they're calling the ENT.
I didn't have that choice of going and breaking down and getting upset about it. I had to be there to make sure my family stayed afloat and stayed united so that we could make sure Dad got better.
How was it this time? Still hurt, but you know.
Successful. How are you feeling?
Look at that.
Oh, is that bruising?
That's swelling. That's bruising.
Liam is awaiting the results of x-rays to his wrist and hand after a collision with a car on his bike.
I've looked a little bit better, I'm not going to lie.
I think he struggled in school. He didn't get amazing grades. And then he struggled with, like, unemployment. He's got a bit of a temper. He'll get very angry, especially at work, which you shouldn't, like, you should try and hold that down. I'd hope he'd have been able to put his dad at peace, but I feel like it just lives in him. I feel like that's something that he carries throughout life, no matter what he does.
So you have the lines, the carpal lines, and they should all be equally spaced, and that one isn't. Hi, Liam, I'm Mike. I'm one of the orthopedic doctors. X-rayed the shoulder, that looks okay. This wrist, you've got a little fracture in the this proximal phalanx here, this little finger here. This wrist, taking a chip out of the lunate bone, usually suggests that you hit this wrist pretty hard. Whatever you did, most likely you fell like that, and it's pushed these little bones into this other little bone and broken the top of it off. Most likely we don't need to do anything for that, okay? You can treat it in a cast. I'll come back in a bit, okay?
Thank you.
No, not at all.
I'm proud how he bounces back.
I'm gonna remove that cannula.
That's gonna be fun.
Whatever struggles he faces in his life, he bounces back quite quickly from them.
What was fun today?
For you, maybe.
For me? Oh, yeah, I was on the right side of the needle.
Picks himself up and just goes again. He won't let something hold him back. I think for Liam to have another father figure is very important, and his stepdad has played that fatherly role for him growing up.
I've always wanted a cast.
I had both my legs casted and it's not nice. Yeah, it's not nice. Sorry, my friend.
It's all right.
He means a lot to me.
Does he hurt you?
No.
I'm grateful that we have the relationship we do. I just think I'm very lucky that we do support each other how much we do, because I couldn't imagine having a sibling that I'm not close to in the way that we are.
So hold on, I'm gonna close the curtain to give you some privacy. And Liam, take care, okay?
And you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It was pure blood all over again.
It just happened all of a sudden. She started bleeding again.
Yeah, it calmed right down, and then all of a sudden it kicked off all over again.
Right, let's have a look.
The medication Kushbo was given an hour ago hasn't stemmed the bleeding following her earlier tonsillectomy.
All right, what I'll do, I'll try to suction that clot off, okay?
Dad went through a period where he had a series of heart attacks, strokes, so he was very unstable for a period of about 2 to 3 months. I'm a medical professional, so I know what to expect and how bad these things are. But I wasn't worried at that point that Dad wasn't going to make it through.
It's the second time it bled, you know. I just want to make sure it's not bleeding at the back, you know. There you go.
I wanted Cushy to have the life that I didn't have. I always wanted her to enjoy her freedom, enjoy the liberties of going to university, going and doing your masters, have all those luxuries of not having to worry so much about everything else that's going on around you and just be carefree.
I would use that long forceps and with a bit of cotton and adrenaline on there, and I'll put a bit of pressure, okay?
Sorry, I know you're going on my hand. Sorry. It's fine. That's right. That's fine.
And close your mouth, no?
It's all right. You can do this.
When you can't, just raise your hand, okay?
Dad knew that if he wasn't able to do it, he knew that I would step into those shoes and I'd do it. And I'd make sure everyone was okay and looked after.
You've got your own personal surgeon. You were thinking that.
I think Dad having his strokes did make us closer, because I was always there for when she needed me to be there, as a big sister, as a parent, as a friend.
Okay, no bleeding now. Yeah, fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah? Good God, well done.
And you're going to an ENT ward, Florence Nightingale. Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, thanks.
If you bleed at all, you need to tell them, okay?
I've got a bit of a saying that family's like a tree. As branches, we're all weak, but when we come together in the trunk, our foundation is strong and we're strong together. And that's all I've ever wanted for our family.
Dish onu deni in case she needs it. No point you carrying it if she needs it. Have you got children?
Yeah. One daughter who's 26, but she lives in Glasgow. She went to uni there and went off with the hairy Scotsman. We miss her, but...
You know she's all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When we kind of talked in the years before about, you know, what kind of life we might have together, I was always very clear that I wanted at least one child. I think it took him a little while to come round to the idea in some ways, but then he turned out to be the most besotted father ever.
As soon as we get those scan results, hopefully we can take these off. If you...
That was say whether anything's broken or cracked or...
Yeah, anything.
Doctors now have the results of Chris's CT scan.
Hello.
Oh, hello. So, Christopher, you've fallen on your back and you've injured your back in that area where you've probably hit the railway sleeper. Yeah. You've fractured one of the vertebrae in your lumbar spine. Oh, fuck. Excuse my language. But this break is actually quite a bad break. It's caused the vertebrae to burst out in both directions. Now, unfortunately, That means that part of the fragment can then press on the spinal cord, which can cause problems. In worst case scenarios, it can completely transect your cord and stop you from doing anything below. I think it's going to be unlikely they're going to take you to theatre this afternoon.
What will we be doing in theatre?
Stabilising it.
Meaning?
As in fixing it, because your whole back needs to be stabilised because you've got an unstable fracture. I'm not a neurosurgeon, so I'm not going to speak to you about kind of what they need to do, but we need to get them to come and see you.
Understood.
All right.
Ooh,
So, when I was telling you to keep still, that was the right thing.
It certainly was.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Oh, bloody hell, Chloe.
I think sometimes people think we're the perfect couple, and I think we're just very lucky and we're very fortunate and we're committed to the idea of being together and facing the world together.
Bit of a bugger.
Bit of a bugger, yes. No bones about it, but, you know.
No bones about it.
Yeah. Of course, all sorts of things come along in life and knock you off your perch.
An operation.
Yeah. Which you've never had in your life, have you?
No. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to keep a cool head.
Yeah. That sounds like a good plan. Me too.
He is the anchor in my life in many ways, and, you know, what would I can't really imagine what my life would be like without him.
Sorry, again,
it's not stable, left as it is.
It's hard to imagine that life that isn't intertwined together.
Is that all right? It was lovely to meet you. I hope it all works well.
Thank you so much.
Chris will now be taken to a ward before undergoing surgery to his spine in an attempt to prevent any life-changing injury.
I think by putting on a stoic front, you can block out some of the emotions of a situation. It's a coping mechanism, and it's how some people choose to take on the emotional brunt of an issue. We have a life to live, and life will go on, as sad as it may be sometimes. We've got to move on and help others through that. It's important that we move on from devastating things that happen in our lives.
Getting back on the bike was hard. It's like learning to ride again, because you're wary of what could happen. Even a short ride of like 20 minutes was an issue, because I'd broken my wrist and fingers on my other hand, so that caused problems. Emma was great support. She kept me laughing. We lost, I think. Lost without Emma.
I think doctors are very cautious about what they say in those situations, in terms of whether he would, you know, be able to walk. But I don't think I really had any idea at that point how it was going to go.
My recovery is still ongoing. I'm recovering mobility still. I can walk more quickly now than I could, but I still can't run. I'm eternally grateful to Chloe. She and our daughter are the reason I'm around. When I was lying injured, I knew that I was supposed to get better for them. You know, I didn't want to mess up our life together. I'll not be going up a ladder ever again. I'm permanently banned from going up ladders. Dangerous things, ladders.
think the way that I've always described it is if I have my sister, I don't need anyone else. She's the one person in my life who, if I ever need to depend on, she is there without a doubt.
They could see that Dad was having what looked like to be a stroke on his good side. And Dad was taken to St. George's in resus, in the same bay that Khushbu was actually in when she was in there for her tonsils. And his stats dropped to 60% and they couldn't get him back. I was told my dad had passed away, which is incredibly hard to deal with. He gave me my sisters and he gave me my family to be proud of where we all are, independently and individually, but also that we are stronger together.